All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Warkar Kodash, and the Heavenly Father, true names Yahweh, and His unbegotten Son, Ba'ashem, in the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lashon Kodash, the Holy Tongue, and I say Barak Thumb to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Ma'akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a World War Three news updates as of March the 9th, 2026, on this Monday. And this is from the Jerusalem Post, and it reads, it says, IDF expect that Iran can sustain ballistic missiles fire despite losing 75% of its launchers, right? Because Iran is smart, because they've been, I believe it's a report that came out that they was preparing for this war for a very long time. You know, even though Iran is taking huge losses from the United States armies and the Israel Defense Force armies, but at the same time, Iran is smart, they smart, they're not in a desperate situation, they are practical at what they do, they precise at what they do, they patient at what they do, So they've been planning this for quite a while now, even though they're taking huge losses, in their country, Now they got a new supreme leader, which is the former supreme leader's son. Now he's taking that now. So expect to see Iran is going to continue to fight back. They're not going to surrender, because you have the president, as I quoted him, he's saying they're not going to surrender. They're going to continue to push forth. They're going to continue to fight back, and they're going to defend themselves as much as possible as they can, against the United States armies, against the Israel Defense Force armies and allies, and anybody that's allies with the United States armies and Israel Defense Force armies. So they're gonna, they're gonna defend themselves, and then they got help from pro-Iranian groups as well too. So expect to see more tensions continue to heat up, and throughout that whole region, throughout the Persian Gulf, the Gulf regions, and over there in the Middle East, throughout those whole regions, which is Western Asia. It says the Iranians cluster bombs target Israel, amending nationwide sirens. The IAF strikes Beirut and Tehran.
Hello, Moto.
Check out the Middle East. It says Saudi Arabia warns Iran will be the biggest losers and pay a hefty price if attacks persist. To be honest, they're really not attacking their neighbors. They are attacking the ones that's got U.S. interests in those military bases. That's what Iran was doing, and I think they officially apologized. Was that yesterday about attacking neighbors, but they was mostly targeting military bases from the United States interests. But you do got Saudi Arabia as allies with the United States, so. It says NATO confirms downing a second Iranian missile entering Turkish airspace. The Turkish defense warned that it will take necessary steps without hesitation. It says Iran wars leaves Yemen's Houthis between a rock and a hard place. But if that's the case, but you're still going to have the Houthi rebels, they still going to be partners and allies with the Iranians, And they still going to be continuing focusing going against the Israel Defense Force over there in that area, especially over there in Iraq or Syria. It says Iran rejects ceasefire talks, vows more crushing retaliations against the U.S. and the Israeli aggressors. It says March the 9th, 2026 from the Jerusalem Post, and it reads, the foreign minister spokesperson also denied any Iranian attack against Turkey and Azerbaijan. right? Because that goes along with it, Ezekiel the 38th chapter, because Russia is going to be allies in regard to these nations, Iran, Ethiopia, Libya, and Turkey. So it makes sense because Turkey, they take the side, even though I believe Turkey, they part of either NATO or European Union, if I'm not mistaken. So Turkey is going to take the side. Turkey is going to take the side of the Russians and the Iranians and all of them. They're going to take the side of them. And they're going to be going against the aggressions against the United States armies and the Israel Defense Force armies. Because, you know, he had the president of Turkey, even though he played both sides of the fence, but he definitely been calling out the war crimes that the Israelis and the United States army's been doing, you know, against the Iranians and against the, you know, especially over there in the West Bank, Palestinian territory from the Israel Defense Force.
Hello, Moto.
It says that the foreign spokesman also denied Iranian attacks against Turkey as presented in ciphers, pointing instead of what he called false flag attacks. Yeah, that is true, false flag attacks. Because you got the Israelis trying to blame everything on Iran, you know. It says Turkey moves to bolster its northern ciphers with 6 F-16 fighter jets. Hezbollah instructed to attack Lebanese army if intervene in conflict, sources told Post. Right, that's if Lebanon takes the side of the Israelis, right? Most likely that's not going to happen because they're going to most likely take the side of their own country defending themselves. But I believe it was a news article that they were saying that Lebanese, they trying to separate themselves from Hezbollah. So if that's the case, but you're still going to have Hezbollah continue to defend themselves against those Israelis. So expect to see more cross-border conflicts heating up between Hezbollah using airstrikes over there in central Israel, southern Israel, and northern Israel, and over there in Tel Aviv, going against the Israel Defense Force. So over there in the Golan Heights as well too. I would say the Golan Heights, the borders of Israel and Iraq and Syria and Lebanon, expect to see tensions are going to escalate furthermore, more and more. And it goes into that wars and rumors of wars. It says Iranian cluster bombs target Israel, amending nationwide sirens to IDF strikes Beirut and Tehran. It says the U.S. will abandon you. It says Syrian Kurds cautions Iran's Kurds against aligning with U.S. against Tehran. Right, because I spoke about this. I think I spoke about this from last year and all the way into now. I was like, you know, even though Turkey and, you know, the Kurds, you know, they've been going against each other. Because you have the pro-Kurds and the Kurdish armies as well, too. They've been clashing against, you know, with Turkey for a very long time. And then you had the recent one with the Syrian Defense Force versus...
Hello, Moto.
Right, and recently you had the Syrian Defense Force going against the Kurds and the pro-Kurds as well, too. Even though they had some type of peace agreement, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, I wouldn't be surprised that the Turkish armies and the Kurdish armies team up together going against the Israel Defense Force. And that's why it says U.S. will abandon you. They will abandon you. That is true. It says the U.S. will abandon you. It says Syrians, Kurd cautions Iran's against aligning with the U.S. against Tehran. So that's why the Kurdish armies, they was kind of skeptical about that. You know, before we make our decision, you know, we want to plan ahead if we want to team up with the United States armies and the Israel Defense Force firms against Tehran. So it seemed like they made that decision. So they'll protect them own selves. So as I mentioned again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Kurdish armies teamed up with the Turkish armies going against the Israel Defense Force. It says enemies of the Islam will regret it. Militaries IRGC back Kamali's succession Mount Jabia. Kamali's, right? The former supreme leader's son. Now that he's the supreme leader, now the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps in the prior in the pro-Iranian groups, they back him and they support him of him being the new supreme leader. It says successions of many oil swords. Iran's appointing of the Mount Kamalis as a supreme leader sees a widespread military loyalty. While oil prices surge, many fears a prolonged disruption in the Strait of Hormuz. It says a 7 U.S. service member unalive during the operation, right? That was mentioned yesterday. Bring out some scriptures. Hey, so you seen from the Iranian representation, they said once again. I think it's like the second consecutive week they were saying they rejected any ceasefire deals and talks. Say they don't want to have no talks. They want to continue further the escalation against the United States armies and Israel Defense Force armies. They was like, if they keep on continuing to go hard at them, and we're gonna continue to go hard at y'all as well too. Because they were saying like, I think it was one of the prime ministers or foreign ministers, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was in an interview or something like that. He was saying that because I seen it on the news before the news was about to go to a commercial, and it was saying that the representations of Iran, they said they didn't really want to start this war. It was the United States armies and Israel Defense Force ones, the ones that started this army, so they defend themselves. This is Luke 21 verse 25. So that shows you that they're not gonna surrender. They're not gonna give up their arms. Just like Hezbollah said the same thing. They're gonna continue to support the pro-Iranian groups. They're gonna continue to support Iran and its allies, and best believe they still gonna continue to use attacks against the Israel Defense Force and the United States armies, especially over there in that Gulf region and throughout Western Asia. So these are signs of building up of wars and rumors of wars heating up on a day-to-day basis. This is Luke 21 verse 25, and there should be signs in the sun and the moon. Right, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing signs in the sun and the moon. It says, and upon the earth transgressive nations. Right, that's what we're seeing modern day upon the earth transgressive nations. Uncertainty. Uncertainty among the nations because you got so much distress. They go on against one another, uprisings, seditions, modern day ruler against modern day ruler, the famines and pestilent plagues. Judgments are increasing among these other disgressive nations. So that's only going to continue to increase. And that Yahweh spoke about. It's the book of Mark chapter 3 and verse 24. It says, and if a kingdom be divided except the kingdom not stand. So we see in these modern day nuclear powerhouses, modern day nations and modern day kingdoms are being divided against one another. And if a kingdom be divided except the kingdom not stand. Right, so if a kingdom be divided except the kingdom not stand. And this is Joel. This is the prophet Joel.
Hello, Moto.
And this is the prophet Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, right, the armies of other nations. Prepare war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near. Right, that's what we're seeing over there in the Middle East, Western Asia, as the nations are getting prepared. Let them all come up over there in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Hey, so over there, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, the Gaza Strip, West Bank, Palestine, Turkey, the Mediterranean Sea, the Persian Gulf, the Gulf regions, throughout that whole region, tensions are escalating in that area. Joel chapter 3, verse 10, beat your plowshares and the swords and the plenty hooks into spears and let the weak sound strong. Right, let the weak sound strong was those pro-Iranian groups. and Iran, they all team up together, rising up against the Israel Defense Force. And this is Isaiah 17 verse 1. Because you got all those proxy groups over there. You got the Kurdish armies, the pro-Kurdistan armies, the Turkish armies, the Syrian Defense Force armies, and all these different proxy groups and escalations only going to continue to heat up between among these nations. So I wouldn't be surprised the Kurdistan armies be teaming up with the Turkish armies going against the Israel Defense Force. It says Isaiah 17 verse 1. It says, the burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus take away from being a city, and it should be Israel heat. Right? Because you're still going to have a cross-border conflict heating up between the Golan Heights, the borders of Syria, and the borders of Israel clashing. Because you're going to have the Israel Defense Force have more military presence, more military building up. Because they still going to be having more heavy clashes against the Israel Defense Force and Hezbollah and all them, from the borders of Lebanon, Iraq, and Syria, and those areas. So this is a future prophecy, that we see in the making of Isaiah 17 verse 1. Isaiah 17 verse 9, it says, in that day shall his grown seeds be as for brought in the uttermost branch, which they left, because the children of Israel that should be desolate. Right, so that land over there in Syria is going to be desolate, because this is a future prophecy, because you're still going to have the heavy aggression from the Israel Defense Force and its allies going against the pro-Iranian groups in Hezbollah. It's the book of Revelations. It's the book of Revelations 9 and verse 12. The one will pass, and behold, there come two woes after. Right, so the one will pass, behold, the two woes more hereafter. This is the book of Revelations 11 verse 14. Yep, Revelation 11 verse 14, the second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. Right, so the second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. Armageddon, Armageddon 1. So with that, hopefully this prophecy, hopefully this World War III news updates was edifying. As of March the 9th, 2026, on this Monday morning. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai B'Hashem, or Karkadash. And the Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh. And his only Son B'Hashem, in the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lashkadash Holy Tongue, and I say Barakatam to the elders and apostles, Wa'aki and Wa'akwa. Till next time, I will say Shalom.